The crowd at the Indigo Plateau is silent. Ash stands on the battlefield entirely out of options. His final hope rests on the orange dragon standing before him, but Charizard is not fighting, Charizard is sleeping. The referee raises his flags, the match is over. Ash has lost the biggest tournament of his life. Millions watch the Kanto League crumble in real time. It is the most heartbreaking moment in the original series. Everyone blames the dragon. Fans call Charizard lazy and stubborn. They say Charizard cost Ash the championship out of sheer arrogance. But this is a massive lie. Charizard did not lose the Kanto League because of arrogance. Charizard lost the Kanto League because of severe untreated trauma. We need to look at the psychology of the most infamous disobedience arc in anime history. When you analyze the lore, you realize this dragon was never acting out of spite. It was acting out of pure terror. To understand why Charizard refused to listen to a single word Ash said, we have to go back to Route 24. We have to look at the exact moment this psychological damage began. Damien is the catalyst for everything. Damien was a brutal trainer who only cared about raw power. He caught a Charmander and expected it to be a flawless weapon, but Charmander was just a beginner. Charmander struggled. And in Damien's eyes, struggling meant being entirely worthless. Damien did not just release Charmander, he actively deceived it. He told Charmander to wait on a rock and promised he would come back. Damien walked away and left that tiny creature to die. This is the foundation of the trauma. Charmander sat on that rock through a freezing rainstorm. A flock of angry Spearow attacked it. The rain battered its body. Its tail flame is tied directly to its life force. If the flame goes out, Charmander dies. The flame was shrinking by the second. Charmander was minutes away from death, but it still refused to leave the rock. It believed in absolute loyalty. It believed that if it just waited and proved its dedication, its master would return. Ash and his friends found Charmander just in time. They wrapped it in coats and rushed it to the hospital. Ash saved its life, but the psychological damage was permanently sealed inside its brain. Charmander learned a devastating lesson that night. It learned that loyalty gets you killed. It learned that humans will use you, lie to you, and leave you to freeze the moment you show weakness. Damien explicitly said he abandoned Charmander because it was pathetic. Charmander internalized every single word of that philosophy. In the mind of this creature, weakness equals death, vulnerability equals abandonment. For a while, Charmander listened to Ash. Ash was kind and treated it like a partner, but Ash was also deeply inexperienced. Ash lost battles and made tactical mistakes. Charmander watched Ash stumble through Kanto. Deep down, the fear was always brewing under the surface. Charmander was constantly evaluating its own survival. What happens if Ash decides Charmander is too weak? What happens if Ash gets frustrated? Charmander lived in a constant state of severe anxiety. It fought hard for Ash, but it fought harder for its own survival. It needed to prove it was not pathetic. Then came the Executor Stampede. Ash was overwhelmed by a huge horde of angry Executor. Charmander stepped up to protect him. It battled with everything it had. It pushed its physical body far beyond its natural limits, and in a blinding flash of light, it evolved into Charmeleon. Ash celebrated, but the dynamic instantly shattered into a million pieces. The exact second the evolution finished, Charmeleon turned its back on Ash. It blasted him with intense fire. It completely refused to obey another command from that moment forward. Why did the evolution trigger this massive personality shift? People think it is just standard teenage rebellion, but the lore tells a completely different story. It is a fundamental shift in the power dynamic. When it evolved, it gained a massive surge of physical strength. It finally felt powerful, and that power acted like a massive psychological shield. Charmeleon realized that it never had to be the weak victim ever again. It never had to wait on a rock for a human to save it. But listening to Ash meant surrendering that newfound control. Taking orders from a human meant putting its fragile life right back into the hands of someone else. Damien taught this creature that trusting humans is a fatal mistake. Charmeleon looked at Ash and saw a weak trainer. Ash asked for cooperation. But Charmeleon had learned the hard way that cooperation is a deadly trap. If it obeyed Ash, it was acknowledging Ash as the ultimate master. And masters abandon you. Masters leave you to freeze. The only way to guarantee its own survival was to rely entirely on itself. It became obsessed with asserting its dominance. Dominance was the only thing keeping the trauma at bay. If it was the strongest creature in the room, nobody could ever hurt it again. This trauma escalated entirely out of control in Grandpa Canyon. Ash was violently attacked by a terrifying ancient monster. Aerodactyl swooped down from the sky and grabbed Ash in its massive claws. Ash was completely helpless. Charmeleon watched from the ground. Charmeleon could not fly. It was stuck down on the dirt while Aerodactyl mocked it from the sky. Charmeleon did not evolve to save Ash. The lore makes this incredibly clear. Charmeleon evolved because its own massive pride was damaged. It felt weak again. It felt grounded and powerless. The sheer desperation to prove its absolute superiority triggered its final evolution. A massive Charizard roared into the sky. It grew huge wings. It chased Aerodactyl down through the clouds and blasted the ancient monster with a torrent of fire. Ash thought Charizard evolved to protect him. But the moment Aerodactyl dropped Ash, Charizard caught him and immediately blasted Ash in the face with scorching flames. The underlying message was brutally clear. I am not your pet. I am not your loyal soldier. I am the strongest creature in this canyon and I will do whatever I want. Charizard built a massive emotional wall around its heart. The bigger and stronger it got, the thicker the wall became. It acted incredibly arrogant all the time, but arrogance merely masks deep fear. If Charizard pretends that nothing matters, then nothing can hurt it. It can never be abandoned if it rejects the trainer first. Charizard was preemptively abandoning Ash so that Ash could never abandon Charizard. We see this perfectly during the fiery battle on Cinnabar Island. Ash faced Blaine over a terrifying pit of boiling lava. Blaine sent out Magmar. Charizard finally emerged from its Pokeball, but Charizard did not care about the Volcano Gym badge. Charizard did not care about Ash achieving his dreams. Charizard only cared about proving that its fire was hotter than Magmar. They clashed in an epic display of raw power. Charizard won the battle with a massive seismic toss. Ash celebrated wildly, but Charizard just scoffed, turned away, and went back to sleep. Charizard used Ash merely as a convenient vehicle to find strong opponents. This highly toxic coping mechanism finally culminated at the Indigo Plateau. Ash was facing his friend Richie in the biggest match of his career. Richie sent out a TNE Pikachu named Sparky. Ash threw his final Pokeball and desperately called on Charizard. The stadium crowd roared. The massive dragon materialized on the battlefield. It looked down at its opponent, expecting a massive threat, and it saw a teeny little Pikachu. Charizard stopped. It snorted in pure disgust. It turned its back on Sparky, crossed its massive arms, laid down on the dirt, and closed its eyes. It went to sleep right in the middle of the stadium. People call this incredibly lazy, but look closely at the psychology. Charizard only battles to prove its absolute dominance. Dominance is its only shield against its past trauma. If it fights a massive Magmar or a terrifying Aerodactyl, winning proves it is strong. It proves it is safe. But what happens if it fights a teeny little Pikachu? If Charizard crushes Sparky, it proves absolutely nothing. Squashing a bug does not make you powerful. There is no glory in defeating a weak opponent. In Charizard's deeply damaged mind, engaging with a weak opponent is completely beneath its dignity. Fighting Sparky would mean following Ash's orders purely for the sake of following orders. It would mean fully submitting to a human master. Charizard completely refused to submit. The referee disqualified Ash. Ash lost the Kanto League on the spot. Ash was completely devastated. His ultimate dream was shattered in front of millions of people. But he did not abandon Charizard. He did not yell in anger. He did not tell Charizard it was pathetic. He calmly kept Charizard on his team. This is the absolute crucial difference between Ash and Damien. Damien discarded a Pokemon the exact second it failed him. Ash held onto Charizard even after Charizard destroyed his most important goal. But the psychological wall was still completely intact. It took a terrifying near-death experience in the Orange Islands to finally shatter that trauma for good. Ash was traveling through the Orange Islands and met a trainer named Tad. Tad possessed an incredibly powerful Poliwrath. This Poliwrath was an absolute monster in combat. Ash sent out Charizard. Charizard immediately thought this would be an easy fight and tried to overpower Poliwrath with pure brute force. But Poliwrath was far too smart. Poliwrath unleashed a massive ice beam directly into Charizard. The attack hit with completely devastating force. Charizard was instantly frozen solid. A massive block of thick ice encased the dragon's entire body. The referee ended the match. Charizard crashed heavily to the ground. The ice cracked, but the freezing cold remained. This is the exact moment the deep trauma fully resurfaced. The sun went down. The air turned freezing cold. Charizard was lying on the dirt ground, shivering violently. Its massive muscular body was paralyzed by the freezing temperature, and the small flame on its tail was rapidly shrinking. It was exactly like the rock on Route 24. The freezing cold, the completely helpless feeling, the rapidly fading life force. Charizard was right back in that vulnerable state. The feeling of supreme power was gone. The immense physical strength that used to shield itself from the terrifying world was stripped away. It was weak again. And in Charizard's deeply scarred mind, weakness absolutely meant death. It expected Ash to pack his bags and leave it dying in the dirt just exactly like Damien did. But Ash did not walk away. Ash built a massive campfire right next to Charizard. He sat down in the cold dirt. He He took out his own blankets and wrapped them tightly around the freezing dragon. He began rubbing Charizard's frozen scales with his bare hands. He rubbed the tough scales for hours upon hours. The skin on Ash's hands became completely raw and terribly blistered from the intense friction. Ash was completely exhausted, but he firmly refused to sleep. He absolutely refused to stop working. Ash sat there in the dark night and poured his entire heart out. He told Charizard how much he deeply cared. He told Charizard that they were a real team. He sincerely apologized for not being a better trainer. He begged Charizard to pull through the night. He promised that he would never ever give up on them. Charizard slowly opened its tired eyes. The massive dragon looked down at the tiny human. It saw the bloody blistered hands. It saw the dark, heavy circles under Ash's eyes. It saw a human suffering intense physical pain purely to save a Pokémon that had treated him like garbage for many months. In that exact magical moment, the massive psychological wall completely shattered into dust. The deep trauma finally broke. Charizard realized that Ash was completely different from Damien. Ash did not care about raw battling power. Ash cared about Charizard as a living being. Ash loved Charizard even when Charizard was totally weak. Ash loved Charizard even when Charizard was completely helpless. Ash was literally giving up his own body warmth to keep the delicate tail flame alive. The brutal lesson Damien taught was finally erased forever. Loyalty does not get you killed when you are completely loyal to the right person. Vulnerability does not mean tragic abandonment when you are with someone who truly deeply loves you. The next morning, the bright sun rose over the island. Charizard was fully healed. It stood up and stretched its massive wings wide. Ash woke up and cautiously looked at the giant dragon. He fully expected the usual violent blast of fire directly to the face. He expected the arrogant, dismissive snort, but Charizard just looked at him peacefully. Charizard lowered its massive head and nudged Ash incredibly gently. It was a completely silent gesture, but it spoke massive volumes of emotion. The long rebellion was finally over. The deep, paralyzing fear was permanently gone. Charizard finally truly believed that it was completely safe. Later that same day, Ash requested a serious rematch against Tad and Poliwrath. This time, everything was completely different. Charizard did not charge in wildly like a feral beast. Charizard waited patiently. It carefully listened to Ash. When Ash called out a quick dodge, Charizard dodged perfectly. When Ash called out a tactical attack, Charizard attacked with precision. They fought with absolutely perfect synergy. They fought as an actual unified team, and together they completely decimated the powerful Poliwrath with a spectacular seismic toss. The gym battle was won, but the true real victory happened the dark night before. Ash did not tame a wild, angry beast. He beautifully healed a deeply broken heart. He completely cured a massive psychological wound that started on a cold, wet rock back in Kanto. Charizard went from being the most notoriously disobedient Pokémon in history to becoming Ash's absolute greatest champion. It later saved Ash from Entei. It bravely battled Articuno. It returned time and time again whenever Ash needed it the absolute most. Because once Charizard finally gave its true loyalty, that beautiful loyalty was permanently unbreakable. The legendary story of Ash and Charizard is not a simple story about a trainer forcing a monster to obey. It is a brilliant psychological masterpiece about overcoming severe childhood trauma through the absolute power of unconditional love and relentless, endless patience. Charizard never actually hated Ash. Charizard was just completely terrified of being hurt ever again. And Ash finally proved that some rare people are absolutely worth trusting with your life. If you want to understand even more incredible hidden psychology in the anime, you need to hear exactly why Pikachu absolutely refuses to ever evolve into Raichu. Click the subscribe button right now and join us next time as we uncover the massive secret behind Ash's first partner. You do not want to miss it.